Are you looking for a real estate investing strategy effective for the next 6 to 12 months? If there's an investing formula superior to wholesaling or rehabbing and better than landlording, well, there is. One of our sponsors has been an investor for over 20 years. He's been through it all, up and down markets. This is not new to him. But listen to this. He's offering an investing how-to kit for free to our listeners for a limited time. So go to unlimitedfundingkit.com and get your free kit to start investing without a credit check or large down payment. This information is not common knowledge. It reveals how to have virtually unlimited funding for your deals based on a technique very, very few investors know about. Guys, this is not common knowledge. So be one of the few and get the unlimited funding kit by going to their website at unlimitedfundingkit.com. Again, the kit is free, just a few bucks for shipping. So head over and get your kit, unlimitedfundingkit.com.
Welcome to Underground Wealth Secrets, hosted by Julie Houston on behalf of Bob and Ed Diamond. This is your friendly guide on leveling up your business, achieving financial freedom, and changing people's lives. This is for serious players who want to surpass their current stage and move the needle further. Tune in to get practical advice and eye-opening stories of industry leaders across the nation, teaching you how to scale your business with a strong financial mindset and true to your core values. Let's get this discussion started with your one and only host, Julie Houston.
Hey guys, it's Julie Houston with undergroundwealthsecrets.net on behalf of Bob and Ed Diamond, and I am very, very honored today. We have a special guest, Dean Rogers, with us today. Welcome, Dean.
Thanks for having me.
So excited to have you. So why don't we just jump in and dive into things, and why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, your background, and kind of where you're at today.
Yep. Let's do it. All right. So I'm excited too. Every time I talk to you, I have a great time and you get me pumped up. So
got it.
Let's go. All right. So one thing before I get into it, the one thing I want to say is everybody's got a story. And the sooner you realize that, whether you're just getting started and don't think you do, that is already part of your story. So my story is I started out as a football guy. So growing up, playing sports, I, excelled at them, did great, always filled out. I wanted to be a professional athlete when I was a kid in class, and flash forward to actually making it to the NFL. I made it to the NFL and
wow.
Made it to the San Diego Chargers.
Did you ever think you'd make it to the NFL?
You know what? It was one of those things. So when I think about that, growing up, I grew up in a small farm town in Central California. And, the world outside, like Hollywood, that was like kind of too big, it was kind of too big a living. Like, could I really be someone like that? And there was always like a little bit of doubt, but at the same time, like sports was my thing and it was always my vehicle. Like I didn't have to really like do much talking or do much other than just show up and perform and get results. And that was kind of like my way to socialize with people and meet new people and have success, like all throughout childhood and high school and college and everything. And obviously to the NFL. So, for me, like at each stage, I just continued to get better and perform and get results and do well and get accolades and get notice of, whoever was at the next level. So there was these feelings of, well, it looks like it's a possibility. So I'm definitely not going to slow down or stop and one of the things that helped me get there was that I was disciplined and I was committed and I wasn't going out and partying and drinking and staying up all hours of the night and, messing around and doing all that kind of stuff. I was really focused. And I think that contributed hugely to actually making it to each step in the next level. So Julie, I was the football guy, I made it to the San Diego Chargers, got signed, there's infinite amount of stories there just about the whole experience, but
I'm sure. I'm sure.
but just imagine this, like you go to a small football college to where there's some people that have made it to the next level, but it still feels kind of unattainable. Football professional scouts were showing up to games and watching me and going to practice and stuff. So, it seems like there is a possibility. It is real. But then, I was, when it was time for the draft, like I had, about 12 different teams talking to me. And again, it's like, okay, some people are interested, right? So this is cool.
Like, this is getting real.
This is getting real. So, so I ended up getting a call from the Chargers, and they asked me, "Are your bags packed?" And say, "They're all right. You're going to be there 6 a.m. in the morning tomorrow." So it was like 5 p.m. So they weren't messing around. And I remember jumping around like a schoolgirl in the house with my brother-in-law.
Oh my God.
It was crazy. It was so cool. So, so that all happens, right? I roll into town, and everything kind of takes place from there. But just imagine this, like one day or just the day before, I'm playing video games because I'm just training for the NFL, hoping that the team will pick me up, and playing video games. Just playing video games for like 3 or 4 or 5 hours a day. And the other 4 or 5 I'm training. And, I'm playing with these guys on Madden. And
I love it.
It's the next day I'm in the locker room, 3 lockers away from Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates and just, Vincent Jackson. Like it was crazy. It was such a surreal feeling because I'd been around, big time people before, just playing in sports and getting recognition. But like you're in the locker room, like those are your peers now.
A whole different conversation.
It's totally different. And then just kind of to highlight some of the other experiences, if you ever watched Hard Knocks and the Intensity, which is on HBO, it just shows what it's like to be on the team and just how intense it is and how cutthroat and alpha energy everywhere. And like, it's pretty intense, right? It's the business side. It's me or nobody else type of mentality. Everybody's fighting for that spot because you're on a team of 56 or however many people, and there's only 32 teams. How many people in the world get to play that sport, right?
Yeah.
So it's super
that's a huge
intense
accomplishment. I mean, that's like, wow.
Super intense. And so anyways, if you've seen Hard Knocks, you'll get a taste of that. But if you've also seen Ballers on HBO, you'll get the taste of the Hollywood, right? With The Rock in it, Dwayne Johnson. You'll get the taste of the Hollywood, the women, the money, the houses, the red carpet events. That also was happening in that environment, in that world. That is real life. So to be thrust in this new environment, it was pretty crazy. Like just everywhere we went was a red carpet experience. And believe me, I came from a small college. I wasn't big name first round draft pick, but people were screaming to get my autograph, following me to my car, like grown men following me to my car, women following my car. Like there was weird stuff happening all the time just because you were wearing a jersey, but my whole story with the NFL, Julie, is, I was playing great, feeling great. Norv Turner was the coach, and, he regularly would stop me telling me I'm going to have a long career. And I'm, just feeling like on top of the world. Like I made it to my dream, my hopes and dreams, but Norv Turner moved me from tight end, which I played in college, to fullback. And for me, even though I was playing great and feeling great at that position, if you know about football, you are now primarily a blocker, right? Yeah. You're blocking. And usually on that play, you're running 10 yards to go kill the other guy. And when you're playing tight end, you're about a yard or 2 away, usually, from the guy you're going to block on a run play. And then you're going out and catching passes, scoring touchdowns. Now, fullbacks can go out and catch touchdowns and stuff too, but usually they're blocking, and usually the collisions are the biggest collisions on the field out of any other player or anything else. So
Ouch.
for me, for the first time ever in my life, I'd been playing this sport since, 7th grade. I had to actually ice my head after practice, just practice. I had to start icing my head because the collisions were so intense with, the biggest, fastest, strongest people like on the earth,
Yeah,
some of the
right.
best
I
athletes.
can't even imagine.
And we're just running like two rams, hitting our heads, just meeting right in this tiny gap in between giant linemen. And for me, that just opened up my eyes because ESPN started talking about concussions. Junior Seau killed himself that year. I saw old veterans walking around, beat up, and just, their eyes were looking a little bit, blank. And it just scared the living heck out of me that even though I had in my hands the most amazing thing that anybody would dream and hope for in terms of an opportunity, I didn't have the leverage to go to North Turner and say, "Hey, dude, Antonio Gates, Hall of Fame tight end, I want to play that position. Can you tell him to play backup or something?" I wasn't good enough to do that. So with that being said, I had this awareness that if I kept doing this, I was definitely going to die at an earlier age. I was going to be hurting. And who knows? I swear, a twin separated at birth who was in the league at the same year, who played for 8 seasons in the same position. And I swear, if you put us next to each other, you'd think we were brothers. He had a great career, but maybe his head just reacted differently than me. I don't know. Or maybe he's feeling it now. Could I have made the millions of dollars that I signed a contract for? Sure. But I chose to walk away from the 7-figure contract and start all over. And
that probably had to be a hard decision. But I mean, really, it's like your health and your future, or the money. Is the money worth it?
Yeah. And had my head felt great and I was, brain dead and could just hit my head all day and it didn't matter.
Right.
Then the rest of my body felt good and maybe I'd still, would have played for years on. But that was just my reality and my story. And I recognized that I had to move on, had to hang up the cleats. So I started from scratch, Julie. I just started basically brand new with really no relatable skills to the real world.
And how long ago was this?
10 years ago.
Okay. 10 years.
10 years ago, almost on the dot. So, so walked away from it and basically got started brand new. And I had a good friend from college who I played football with. He knew I was done and said, "Hey, I got an opportunity for you. It's a tech company out of the Bay Area and I can basically walk you in the door." So he did just that, got started. And I will forever be grateful for that because it definitely set me up in a good position. But what it did also do for me is it gave me the realization after a year of busting my butt, because I was laughing about how easy it was. I mean, I was putting my body on the line physically, mentally, with, having to just be ready to play and continue to play at such a high level. The level of exertion that you had to put your body through to play at that level was, 100 out of 100. And now I'm sitting at a desk typing a keyboard. I mean, it was like a 15 out of 100. Like I was laughing how much effort it was, but I put in, a lot of hard work. And at the end of the day, after a year of busting my butt, that 7-figure contract I had, and to that new $65,000 salary job I had in the Bay Area, which is very expensive to live. And they are like, "Congratulations, you worked so hard. We're increasing your salary to $67,000. And I said, "Holy smokes, I got to look for something else." This is not the vehicle, right? I think it was the platform to help me get started, but it also was a launching pad to let me know there was something else for me that I could apply my effort and my excitement, right, to go accomplish and achieve, similar to sports. There had to be something else.
Your second passion.
Had to find my second passion. And for me, I remember like the late night Dean Graciosi infomercials and watching those as a teenager and thinking I might want to be a real estate agent when I grow up. You know, what do I want to do? And I thought it was the tech company as like the perfect picture, but it felt like it had a cap on my potential. So I got on Google, typed in how to get started in real estate, found Sean Terry's Flip to Freedom podcast.
Love him.
And the moment I heard his quirky voice and his excitement and how he was transforming other people's lives that were everyday average Joes that could do this if they just followed some steps, I was insanely obsessed and just went all in and just followed everything he said in his free podcast. I didn't have YouTube, a coaching program. I had nothing but an audio that I listened to on my phone. And I remember 3 months after the first day I did that Google search, I closed my first deal. And the cherry on top was, it was actually me co-wholesaling that deal with Sean Terry. So,
wow.
So I just followed his strategies on how
what are the odds of that?
The odds are slim, but it's because I took so much action and followed to a T what he was teaching that I actually followed his own strategies in his own market to where I then had an opportunity, I had a property under contract and I couldn't get it sold. And so I contacted Sean by going to his website, filling out the web form like I was a seller. And then his acquisition guy called me and I gave him the scoop on what was happening. He's like, oh, Sean will take care of this. He should be able to get it sold.
I freaking love this.
I know. So, I mean, the reality is like I had no network. I had no real skills to that point. I was just taking action and not overthinking it. Right. And typically I am an overthinker. I'm very logical and a lot of analysis and stuff, but I took action because I was just so determined that I needed to do something different. So took the action. That's the story with the Sean Terry deal. Did a couple with him and then had some more resources to put towards more marketing. And then it's been an upward trend from there with some bumps, with mistakes, right?
Of course,
throughout the years. So that's my start into real estate.
I love it. So I got to ask, like, since you started real estate and really made this your passion, from the NFL, is there any one deal that kind of stands out from when you first started that may have been like one of the biggest learning curves for you?
Yeah, definitely.
That you can share? Like, tell me your worst horror story.
Yes. See, when you said the biggest deal, I immediately thought, well, I've definitely had some.
We can do the biggest and we can do the horror.
I'm like, I've had, a deal we just closed recently for 148,000 net profit, but the biggest lessons and the biggest deals that I personally think are worth telling are the mistakes. And I can say those with confidence because I know that they were really important learning lessons. And I also know that they were the story that most entrepreneurs face. The reality is, right? You want to talk about the flashy, hey, this year we'll do $3 million in deals. I got a rental portfolio at $10 million, right? I could flash all these things, but what's the real story, right? The real story is having to overcome objections like everyone else, right? I walked away from the 7-figure contract, not with the 7-figure contract. So I had to start over like most everyone else with very little resources. And I had to be resourceful and I had to fight, right? And it was hard. And it took years. It took years to have the breakthrough, to feel like I made it. It wasn't an overnight success. It wasn't, I'm so good, I got all these skills and talents and everything I touch is gold. It was like, no, those things I touched, they just broke and I lost money. I just took a step back, right? Why is this happening to me? Oh, how do I overcome this? And it was having to, look myself in the mirror and realize, well, you got to get to work. You got to figure it out and fight through it. So the biggest lessons for me, Julie, the two biggest lessons was after my first year of doing, can't remember, I had to go back and look, 6 to 8 deals my first year, wholesaling single family houses. I ran into my now business partner and I was wholesaling him a couple deals, and he's like, "Hey, you're really good at finding deals. Let's do some flips together. You want to do some flips?" And I'm like, I still don't have really enough resources to buy deals. He's like, "Don't worry about it. I got you. Just find the deal and I'll bring in the resources. I'll manage the flip, stuff like that." So he mentioned things are slowing down in our current market in Central California. How about Arizona? I know you did some deals with, some guy out there, which is Sean Terry. And it seems like, yeah, right. He didn't know any of that stuff yet. And so he's like, "What about doing some flips there?" I said, "Cool. I know I have some contacts with some realtors and some wholesalers. We could buy some property." So we jump right into it. We buy 6 properties within the first month. And he's like, "We should pump the brakes." I'm like, "What are you talking about? This is great. Let's keep buying." He's like, "No, let's see how these go and we'll make a decision from there." Well, the short story is 4 of those we made money on. Just 2 of them, we lost $100,000. And the way we lost that's a lot of money, especially when things are tight, right?
Yeah.
And so those are my first flips, my very first flips. I had only wholesaled before that. And I just joined Fortune Builders, right? Big community. And they had just taught me all the A to Z, how to flip a house. What are all the things you need to do? These are the contracts. These are the right things to do. These are the type of things that you put in the house, appliances and finishes. So I followed all that to a T, but I didn't do the obvious things like vetting the contractor correctly. I trusted the comps from the realtor, and it wasn't apples to apples. This side of the street, the house is sold for what price we were going for. This side of the street where our house was, not so much. So it was things like that stacked up to just be a nightmare. And the contractor did such bad work, we had to redo the entire house. Like, it was that bad. So problem after problem stacking on itself, taking forever to sell the house. It was just a nightmare. And we ended up losing that money. And it was a big ouchies, as I would say with my kids, a big ouchies and a big setback for me, just barely getting started in the game and having little resources. So I had to fight like heck to get more deals back in our backyard and in our market, and get those deals to basically make that money back. And that was really hard and painful for me, but it really taught me that I had to be careful. I couldn't just trust anybody, right? Because I always had this, good nature about myself. I like to think that I attract good people. So why would anybody, I had this still kind of young mentality. Why would anybody do anything wrong to me? There aren't bad people out there, are there? So I learned that naturally that there are, and some people will take advantage and do bad things. So that was a big learning lesson. And the second one, Julie, was 3 or 4 years down the road from then, where another similar situation, something outside of my comfort zone, outside of my area of expertise, another real estate investor in San Diego. I'm back in San Diego now.
Okay.
He was in our community of people, other investors, other people were doing deals with them. He said, "Hey, I got this opportunity. Here's the numbers. It's a new construction project, 2 houses. I'll build one, you build the other. I got all the plans approved, permits approved. We can start literally tomorrow. Like, just buy this lot." Of course, he just had all the bad intentions and just had everything. It was a house of cards, right? And he basically had nothing ready to go. Like, the hard money lender that was supposed to be ready to go, he had already withdrawn money with fake receipts and wasn't making payments. Like, it was nasty. And he had borrowed millions of dollars from other investors on other properties that weren't properly secured. He was blowing the money. He ended up getting like 30 different lawsuits. And here I am, just one of the victims, if you want to call it, sitting there with this piece of dirt, with no dirt that's ready to be moved. And I had to go work with the city, renegotiate prices with architects and engineers and try to discount it was a nightmare. I ended up selling it and losing $187,000 personally. And it was big ouchies. And
yeah, that's gut wrenching right there.
right before my first son was born, and it was supposed to be a deal where it was like, oh, great, this is going to be great profit, really good foundation for the family. And it just was terrible. But at the end of the day, Julie, I can't blame anyone else but myself, right? And that's a big lesson that I had to learn is I had to take ownership because he didn't make me do the deal, right? It's not like he took his car and drove it into my house. I decided to do that deal, and I needed to do my due diligence correctly. I needed to make one more phone call, right? If I would have called the hard money lender who I actually knew and had their cell phone, I would have found out that he already withdrew money. If I would have called the engineer, hey, these plans are approved, right? No, wait, he hasn't even paid you? What are you talking about? He said it was approved. That would have saved me so much pain, effort, and money. And so the biggest lessons I learned is like to stay in my lane of expertise. And if I'm doing anything new, I have to overdo due diligence because that's where you can get hurt, right? And so that's the biggest lessons that I learned from that.
Wow, that's great feedback. And I mean, honestly, I think that you're right. Like we learn most from our mistakes. And
Yeah.
I know for me, like when I make a mistake and it's like a really gut wrenching, like, oh, mistake, I'll never forget that one.
Yeah. Right.
I'll never forget that one ever again. So, wow, what a story. So why don't you tell me a little bit about where you're at with your business now and what you're focused on and where you're going and where your direction you think you're going for 2023? Like, do you have some major goals or different direction you want to go or implement? Like, I'd love to hear all of that.
Yeah. So I told you all the horror story, the painful stuff, right? The learning lessons, which I think is really important for people to understand because social media can just portray everything so easy. And I think an outsider looking in, they would look and see like, holy smokes, dude, you are like the epitome of what I want to be and do, which it took a lot to get here, right? I had to overcome things. And some people, or I'd say most people, have a similar story of things they have to overcome. But flash forward to now, we've flipped hundreds of houses. We've wholesaled hundreds of houses, got a rental portfolio of $10 million now. And we're doing over 100 deals a year now. We've scaled it to there. And our team is crushing it, right? We're doing really great. One of the things that was a big shift for us in our business was the abundance mindset and the community mindset. And I think that is one of the hugest untapped opportunities for everybody in any business, because most of us kind of have a natural belief that, Julie, you're another investor, you're a competitor, right? You're a competitor. If you buy a house, that means it's one less house that I could have bought. And so that means there's less opportunity if there's more people like you. Well, that's a misconception. The reality is if you shift your mindset to abundance, that if there's more people like me, there's actually more opportunities for me.
Yes.
And you take action and actually implement different strategies, that can become your reality. And so just 2 years ago, we had the intention, let's start a meetup. And people know us, people know we're doing deals, and we buy some deals from other investors, but I feel like there's more opportunity. So we started a meetup that quickly turned into a virtual meetup with what was going on in the world. And so I thought to myself, how can we, because the very first meetup, in-person meetup we had 100 people show up. And and that was with like a month's notice before our very first meetup. So we knew we were onto something. People were like hungry to meet and collaborate with one another. And so I thought to myself, now that I'm kind of forced to be virtual, how can I still have an impact? And so I started being more present on social media. Before, it was me just walking around with my kids, because I'm a virtual investor pretty much. My business partner and my team are in Central California, and I live in San Diego. So I can't walk into houses and show my story and show, look at the before and afters as much as if I was there. It's me just walking around town with my kids. People think I don't work at all, right? So I actually started sharing more about the business, and it was more about the results. Like, hey guys, we just closed another deal. Here's escrow saying that we're on record, and then talking about it. This was a $20,000 deal, or this was a $40,000 deal. Here's what happened. Here's the details. And then the next level to that was, hey guys, if there's anyone else out there that needs help, right, putting a deal together, like if you just have a qualified lead and you need us to, call the seller, if you need us to negotiate the deal, go on the appointment, take pictures, help with getting it under contract, or let's say you already have it under contract and you need help to sell it to a buyer at top dollar because you want to wholesale it, anything at all. If you want to maximize a deal and you want our help, we'd be happy to help you. We'll just kind of treat it like we're partners, right? And so we started doing that, and then people started reaching out. And once people started reaching out, we started getting results. And now I had results to share with other people. Hey, look at this deal we just did. We just made, closed a $40,000 deal. We both made 20. I love sending friends money, right? These are almost like friends now. They've developed into relationships. Yeah. And then it turned into something fun where I was like, how could I brand this and make it fun and playful? So I thought, well, I'm going to call it Friends with Benefits. So I
love it.
I got t-shirts made to say Friends with Benefits on the back. And, you're basically in the friend zone until we do a deal, and then we're friends with benefits, right? And so started sharing and talking about Friends with Benefits on social media. And then it churned into, just last year, $1 million of revenue to our business just from doing
capital.
Just from doing Friends with Benefit deals. We made $1 million just from doing these deals.
I love what you named it.
Yeah. So
it's catchy.
It's catchy. I should trademark it because I know there's some other people who I've told in Arizona.
I know. I'm telling you right now, you probably should trademark that because it's actually pretty good.
Right. And there's some other people that have started to use it. But it turned into it opened up a new door to community, and there are no competitors. There's just partners. There's people. And by the way, I am willing to help anybody. If there's somebody new, experienced, they have a question, I'm still willing and able to put as much effort in terms of helping them understand what the deal should look like, what would allow them to make a deal, just because by putting out value to others.
Yep.
Right. The law of attraction, abundance mindset, all these different words you use, the world reciprocates that, and it brings it back.
Like the same as you. I believe in the law of attraction. The more good you put out, the more like you'll receive in abundance. And like, I do that all the time. People will be like, I'll book people. Like if they say they need exposure, I'm like, hey, I'll have my team book you on 10 podcasts. Like, I don't ask for money. I don't charge them. I don't do anything. Like, I'm like, here, let me help you out. Like without anything in return.
And it's a real thing.
And so it's crazy how much that works, because it really comes around tenfold.
It's crazy, crazy. So the most powerful tools that are in my business now today are giving value to others. It is the networking part, right? So I saw also, as we were doing our meetup, and other investors that I know and respect in my area doing meetups, last December, I got us all on a Zoom call and said, guys, let's collaborate together. Let's schedule out this year so that your meetup is on this month and my meetup's on the next month. And it's not like what we were having happen where this Thursday my meetup is and next Tuesday yours. And then like people were thinking, well, I already went to a meetup, so I don't want to go to another one next week. And we're not really helping each other. We're kind of hindering, and we're not collaborating. So we got together, we started scheduling meetups. We started co-hosting meetups.
Nice.
And the co-hosting meetups, Julie, are so much fun and attract so much more people to where instead of, 100 or sometimes a little bit less, 70, 80 people showing up to my meetups.
150 is a lot. 100, 150.
100. Yeah. But now we have 200-300 people showing up to meetups, and it's almost like elbow room only. And everybody is getting tons of value, energized, and it just feels so good because we all have the same mindset. And I'm actually getting tingles, chills right now. Think about it, because it just gives you an energy when you continue to surround yourself with other people that are excited and passionate and are thinking abundantly and not selfishly. And none of us are colliding with one another or friction. Like, we're all just giving value, right? And we're all willing to contribute. And there's just something magical that happens. So giving value to others, creating opportunities for networking for myself, for others, right, is where the magic happens. And then this new passion project that I had some friends just kind of push me off the cliff to do is to get involved in coaching. So I started coaching program a couple months ago, and
very nice.
It's already something that I've been doing in terms of like working with other people, kind of mentoring, but obviously mentoring and coaching is like another level of commitment.
Yes.
And so what it's developed into now is a coaching program that I call the Wholesaling Playbook. And it is focused on basically replicating our business, all the marketing strategies that we do, all the systems and operations that we have, how we run our business, like step by step. This is how your team should run, how to build your team, how to hire your team, the positions you should have. Then the whole acquisition process, like what are the words you say to a seller that wants to sell their house? And how do you control that conversation and put yourself in the best position? How do you fill out the purchase contract? Like everything A to Z. How do you find cash buyers that are paying top dollar? So it is literally an A to Z. How do you set up your business like ours? And obviously you got to take massive action, and it takes time to get there. But we've got great students that are getting success. We do have some newer students, one of which just closed a $30,000 deal just this last week. And but a lot of them are experienced investors that are looking to take their business from 1 to 2 deals a month to scale it to be more consistent and more.
Are they nationwide?
We do have nationwide, yes.
Okay,
so
cool.
There's no limitation to region or anything like this. This is applicable to anybody in any area. And what's so fun about it is there's the coaching program and training material, the videos that you watch online, but there's also 3 other aspects to it. There's accountability, right? I realize that it's human nature for people to procrastinate and be too busy. But if you have someone looking over your shoulder and kicking you in the ass, it helps motivate you to get things done. And so every single week, there's an accountability check-in where I'm checking in with the students, seeing how they're doing, what they need help with, and then giving that kick in the butt so that they can keep pushing forward. And then we have negotiation trainings every Tuesday and Q&A calls every Wednesday. The negotiation trainings are cool because we're actually calling live leads.
Oh, wow.
And we're all listening in on how those calls are going. And we're calling, most of the time, we're calling our leads, like the leads that my business has spent money and generated and created.
Yeah.
And we're basically creating an opportunity for the students to call our leads unless they have some of their own that they want to call at that time. So for instance, that one student who was a newer student, but I saw his hustle and saw that he would get results, close that $30,000 deal from one of our leads on that call. So it's pretty cool, pretty powerful, and something that I just know, like, that the whole intent behind it of creating the coaching program was to build a community of other people who were having success in the business. And that just opens up more doors and compounds on itself to building a larger community of people who want to spend time with you, right? Who want to grow with you and who want to win with you. And it just feeds into what we've been doing with networking, joining masterminds, everything. So it's been super fun and something I've been having just a lot of passion behind,
You're definitely passionate. And I think that's why I'm so drawn to you, because it's so nice to see, like, hear your story and see how far you've come, like starting out completely over. I mean, yeah, you have the NFL background, but like you didn't walk away with the 7-figure contract, like you said, like you had to start out from zero. And I think that a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah.
And I know for our viewers, we are going to have a link if you want to connect with Dean and schedule a call. You can go to undergroundwealthsecrets.net/Dean. And we'll add more information about Dean's training and programming in the show notes as well. Again, it's undergroundwealthsecrets.net/Dean. So Dean, before we close out, I got to ask, so is there any one influential person or anyone that like impacted your life in a sense that like they really contributed to the success that you're having today? Like I know Sean Terry, but is there anyone that was like your ride or die through thick and thin, up and down, that like?
I still think it was Sean Terry. I'm gonna have to be a fangirl until I die. Like, yeah. I feel like I owe so much to Sean, and we've talked on the phone a couple of times with the deals we did. We've texted, here and there. I still have yet to meet him in person. He almost went to the meetup that I just got back from. But when I do meet him, I'm going to give him a long, uncomfortable hug because he's someone that he just oozes authenticity and just passion. He's blessed so many people on this earth. And there's person after person after person. I tell my beginning story of real estate, how I did my first deals and and they have a similar Sean Terry story because he's the OG. I mean, he was so influential when I got started, and he's still.
I listen to a lot of his stuff on YouTube a lot. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. I really do. I listen to a lot of his current stuff. He really is an incredible marketer and incredible investor at what he does. So.
And his stuff is still good to this day. And I've implemented so much of his approach to things and the way that he communicates and the questions he asks and the way that he asks them. And it just resonated so much with me to where I'm just a ride or die for Sean Terry. So
I love it. I love it. So do you have any closing words for our viewers or anything you want to say before we close out?
Yeah, the underground wealth secret for everybody today is that there's really very little that separates someone who isn't successful to someone that is successful. And the common denominator that I personally have found that at least has worked for me and that I've seen work for most other people, because you're going to see investors who, oh my gosh, they're doing so great. And then, oh wait, where'd they go? Right. They fell off the earth. Maybe it was smoke and mirrors. They really weren't doing great. But what I have found, the secret for me, because I've been Mr. Consistent, I haven't had the big blowout deals where I'm making, insane, crazy money on one deal to where I can just take a year off because I made so much money on one deal. I see
people with those deals and I'm like, whoa, I've never in my life had one.
Right. But then again, like you keep swinging the bat, and we just closed, $148,000 net profit deal. We have one that just closed that was 84,000. We just bought and are about to put on the market one that should net right around 100. We just bought or are going to buy one next week that should net around 100. So like you swing the bat and you'll eventually get some nice hits, but
that adds up.
But my story has typically been singles and doubles and singles and doubles, right? And just continuing to do that. And I've tried to figure out what is it that has allowed me to consistently do that. And it's always boiled down to just discipline. It's the discipline of not being everything perfect, right? I'm not Mr. Miracle Morning where I have a beautiful wake up at 4:30 a.m. and I gotta
ask, do you think the NFL contributes to your strong discipline?
It does. It definitely does. Yes.
Like the military contributes to mine for sure.
Without question. Sports is what gave me the structure, because I remember, and this happened for years, like I couldn't go a day without working out. And if there was no way that anyone was going to get in my way of preventing me from doing a workout, because I would just crumble if I didn't do a workout, right? Like my body needed it and craved it. And so like there was those discipline aspects, but those are what I basically carried over from sports, the NFL, into my personal life. But I will say, right, because some people will say they've got their by the minute calendar booked out. That's not me. What the discipline is that I will consistently every day continue to make steps forward and continue the momentum, right? I'm not taking a week off. I'm not, lowering my effort. I'm just continuing to move the ball forward, consistent. Right? And be consistent. And it just comes down to that discipline to where you got to show up and put in the work, right? And it doesn't have to be perfect. Take imperfect action. But by doing that, it will stack on itself. And you might not be blown away with your results in a year and be disappointed with yourself. But you look back 5 years, right? It's been about 4 years since I started buying rentals. I've done all right, right? I did all right buying rentals.
Yeah, it's funny how the years add up and you're like, whoa, wait. Yeah,
right. And so it's about taking that imperfect action and being disciplined to keep consistently moving forward. And that's the secret. That is the wealth secret. And buy rentals. That will help you also with all the depreciation and wealth building and all that stuff. But that's my secret for the audience for sure.
Well, I want to thank you, Dean, for being here with us today on Underground Wealth Secrets. It's been such an honor and a pleasure to have you on. Again, for our viewers, for more information about what Dean and I discussed, you can go to undergroundwealthsecrets.net/Dean. We'll also be adding some additional information about Dean in the show notes as well. So Dean, thank you again. It was great getting to get you back on and connect with you. It's always an honor having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me and look forward to the next time we talk.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Underground Wealth Secrets. May these nuggets of wisdom lead you to finally discovering your true potential. Become one of the most reliable businesses out there that's dedicated both to filling up your bank accounts and leaving a positive impact on your community. Get more informative and engaging conversations like this one at undergroundwealthsecrets.net. Don't forget to leave a positive rating and share with your friends. That's all for now. Until next time.